good at this point. Yeah, the games are definitely a little bit trickier now compared to when people used to just blunder checkmates and stuff like that. Alright, we're playing Chess Strategist, 1828. Let's go with c4. Vary it up a little bit. See what the strategist decides to do. Alright, he goes e6. We could easily play d4 and kind of go back into a normal type d4 opening. Let's play knight f3, though. Let's kind of keep him guessing a little bit here. Knight f6. We're going to go with g3. Develop the bishop to g2. Get castled. And only now are we going to declare the pawn to d4. We're going to play knight to c3. Knight e4. We're going to play queen c2. He's going to take. I'll take with the queen. Bishop e4. Always a little bit of an annoying setup for black to play. Annoying for myself, because it's hard for me to get e4 in, and I don't really want to move the knight and trade off these bishops, because this is actually a pretty good piece for me. At some point, though, I will play like bishop h3 and then knight d2 is the idea. Bishop b2, maybe d5 ideas. Threatening checkmate. If I play d5 immediately, though, he just plays bishop f6, so that's not any good. I think here I am going to play bishop h3. I'm going to play knight d2 next move. Kick this bishop around. This also makes it a little tricky for him to move this f-pawn because of bishop takes e6. Definitely a double-edged position. Bishop f6, okay. I think we're going knight d2 here. Yeah, let's just go knight d2 here. Retreat. And I think we can actually get away with playing e4 right here. e4, if he takes, I have bishop takes e6. Is it necessary, though? e4, pawn takes, bishop takes, king moves, and then my light squares are a little open. I think we're just going to go with queen c2 here now. We're going to try to play e4 next move, though. e4 pretty soon. We could also play d5 and try to undermine the f5 pawn. So if he plays like c5, I might even just play d5. Alright, so he really wants to play g4. I'm playing e4. If he takes, I could take on the e6 pawn and then take back on e4. Any threats of the weather-induced disconnect gambit? My internet did go out, let's say, what was that, 2 or 3 days ago? I hope nothing happens, but I can't promise anything. There has been quite a lot of storming here in Florida recently, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, so I like my position now. A lot of space in the center. If he takes there, I'm going to play knight takes e4. Stormy in Florida? Yeah, definitely stormy in Florida right now. It seems like it rains almost every day or every other day right now. That's kind of how the summer is in general. Okay, he plays f4. Interesting. I think I could just capture it, maybe? Is capturing it a problem? I don't think so. If I capture, he plays like bishop h4 or something. I think it's okay. I think we're going to go for it. Well, let's see what happens here. His king side is just as open as mine is, and I'm up a pawn, so it can't really be like terrible for me or anything like that. I do think bishop h4. Whoops. He does bishop g7 though. I can't really guard this pawn, but what we're going to do, we're going to kind of re-sacrifice it, I guess is the way of saying things. I think we're going to play f5 here, is my thinking process. Kind of like a counter sacrifice almost. He's going to take. Another question is, do I take back this way, or do I just play like e5 and just try to blow everything open? I think we're going to take this way. We're still up a pawn right now. He's probably going to win this f5 pawn back pretty soon, though. Not too much I can stop about that. Next move, probably queen e4 to hit the g4 pawn. Definitely a very interesting type position here. His king is open, my king's open. If he wins that f-pawn, my position might be a little tricky. But I think I'll be able to manage. I'm going to play queen to e4, I believe. Yeah, so queen e4. If he plays rook takes, of course, I'm going to pick up the rook in the corner. If he does queen takes, I'm actually okay trading queens at this point. If he does rook to e8, I have queen d5 check. And, okay, I guess we're trading queens here. I'm actually not unhappy about this. Knight e4, we'll play rook d2 and then knight g3, kick this rook around. Maybe knight f1 was better, because e3 attacks the g4 pawn too. But we're pretty equal, I'd say, here. Maybe a little bit of an advantage for him, mainly because of the... I have two isolated pawns versus two kingside pawns, which are okay. But I think we're not unhappy here. Rook e2, we're going to play like knight g3 pretty soon. We might even play like rook g1 and go after the g4 pawn. So I'm going to go rook g1, kind of mess with him a little bit, see what he decides to do. Knight g3, attacking the rook and the h5 pawn. Bishop c1 to poke the rook a little more. Let's play b4. I want to win this h5 pawn, because once I win the h5 pawn, then the g4 pawn is weak, even at the cost of some queenside pawns here. We're going like bishop, actually just king f1, I believe. Actually, king h1. Let's do rook takes g4 next move, is the idea. And pick up the d4. Oops, let's check here. Knight g3. After the rook moves, I'm going to pick up the bishop on d4. If I take it immediately... I guess we just grab it. The knight's defending the rook there. He is going to get a couple pawns for the piece, but I think this should be okay for me. He has one pawn for the piece. We're going to play bishop d2 to retreat and defend. I think this is just a free pawn. So now we're just up a full piece. This should be winning with not too much trouble. Bishop c3 to fork the two pieces. He's going to check me. Or just give me a free rook. Yeah, and it's over at that point. Okay, let's analyze this one. You can do d5, watch time. d5 would give black the dark squares in the center, freeing him a lot. Yeah, we'll talk about all the pushes that were possible there. Opening's fairly standard. Kind of looks like a Nimzo Indian defense almost, except without him playing bishop to b4. It's kind of like a Queen's Indian defense, I assume. Take, bishop to e4. Sometimes if black plays, for example, let's say he plays, I don't know, d6. There's sometimes gambits where white can play d5, take, and then, like, knight somewhere, maybe d2. And I'm going to pick the pawn back up without letting his bishop get active. So That's the reason people play bishop e4. If I play d5 now, he just takes it, and it's just a free pawn. No, I'm not going to win it back type thing. So I played rook d1, d6, b3, knight d7, bishop e2, f5. Hey, extra Dutch. After bishop h3. The reason I don't play knight d2 immediately is because he can just take bishop f6. I'm still okay here. It's not like I'm losing or anything. But I do like my light square bishop. That's usually my better bishop. This one's kind of blocked up right now. And it's also hard to push this because he can just use that diagonal too. So I played bishop h3 first. I want to play knight d2 and e4 like we saw. Bishop f6, knight d2, retreat, queen c2, going for e4. G5 is definitely optimistic. E4, G4, bishop G2, F4. This is actually probably his best move at the point. If he takes the pawn, I think this is pretty good for me. I do knight takes, and then I threaten all kind of like discovered attacks on his bishop. So F4 is probably his best move, actually. I don't need to take it. Maybe in hindsight, taking it is not the best way to play. Maybe better is... I was always thinking about like e5. And if he takes, something like knight e4. And if he takes, then I'm down a pawn. But I have the bishop versus the knight, and his king side is very open. I might be able to put that to good use somehow. I was considering that idea, but I wasn't sure if it was necessary at that point. I figured I'll grab the pawn. He retreats. The problem here is I can't really defend the pawn anyway. He went take, he play f3. Let's go back there. Take. Even if he plays f3, I just retreat. And I'm not going to get checkmated on g2 anytime soon. If he takes here now, then I'll play knight e4. Kind of the same exact type thing. Just a very small difference with the pawn and the king. So instead, though, I took the pawn. Before bishops traded? Well, it'd be kind of similar here still. Still kind of a similar idea. Or I can actually... This might actually be okay for me here, too. Bishop d3 hit that. The point is, I'm down a pawn, but I get a lot of counterplay for the piece, or for the pawn here. I looked unsure of this move. Was that your intuition? Yeah, it was kind of intuition, plus not trying to think too long about the move and get into too much time pressure. Either I was... Oops, I definitely wasn't doing that. Either I was taking the pawn or I was pushing the pawn. That was my two options here. I just decided to take and see how it goes, though. He retreats. I have no way of guarding this, and I figured I'll just play f5, take, queen g5, queen e4. We end up trading queens, and my position's maybe a little bit worse, but it's not bad by any means. You mean g takes f? Yeah, I just did g takes f because I figured it was a bit of a safer, maybe a little bit of a safer route. Notice how neither side has a very large advantage at this point. He played h5, knight g3, forking the rook and the pawn. Rook g5, hit the rook. He moved b4, pick up the pawn. He picks up the pawn, I move. He needs to guard this, well, he can't really guard this g4 pawn. And his king is actually not very safe here, despite having an active rook. So we're just taking the pawn on g4. He played king f8. If I take here, I guess he takes my knight. This is still winning for me, though. I can check, and then pick up the knight there. So there were a couple of different ways to win at this point. I just decided to play knight g3, attacking the rook. And then I was going to pick up the bishop next move. If he goes here, I'll play bishop g7. Or actually, rook g7 is pretty good, too. Anything else he does, I just pick up the bishop like we saw. I took the bishop, take. And here I'm just up a piece. And he makes a mistake of not moving the rook. He should play check and then move the knight or something. But he moved the knight here first, and then I just picked up the rook, and this is completely over here. Okay, so let's move on to another one. We're up to